Dungeons & Dragons has a big old roster of classes that have become more well known to some people than their own grandparents, and whether you want to play the big buff guy, the sneaky little dude, or the versatile fighty boy, if you have a caster on your team, your life's gonna suck. How's it going? I'm Ellis and welcome to Dungeon Bits, and today I'm going to run you through the problems with spellcasters in D&D and any other game that mirrors the design. This thought came to me because right now I'm making my own game, and I'm making it a details video right now behind the scenes, and I'm gonna be honest, there was a version of that script where I said, there aren't spellcasters in this game. Because as I was designing things for the casters to have, I just realised that they could just do everything the marshals could do, except they had less health. And I was thinking that it was bad that casters have like AoE stuff but marshals don't, but here's the thing. If your equipment list has throwable items that do AoE damage, that means marshals can have their own fireball, but the problem doesn't stand with combat. I'm fine with spells versus no spells. The problem is that casters just don't gel with a certain style of play. Let me explain. But before I say the negatives, what are the positives about spellcasters? Well, there's a bunch of them. Spellcasters range from the glass cannons to the guys who can be as hardy as the marshals, and they come with a whole range of ways to play them. And due to their many spells, you can flavour their power set nearly infinitely, and use your own imagination to re-flavour well-known spells. By choosing something like illusion magic, it can let you do more than just play like a numbers game in combat, and it can let you change the battlefield and other situations in a way that is limited to your imagination. So, what is the bad? Well, back in not my day, when I was but an alien atom from the sun crashing through our atmosphere, D&D used to be all about dungeons. Making dungeons, exploring dungeons, looting dungeons, getting the loot out so you can get stuff to go back into another dungeon, putting the DM in this BS. But as time goes on, turns out things change, and it's not all about dungeons now. D&D for a while has been riding the line between action movie and role-playing game. It's got violent and non-violent conflict resolution. But whatever game you run, the spellcaster is just going to curb stomp the challenge. Marshals are good when initiative is rolled and the big monster needs a few more holes in it, but outside of combat, they really gotta rely on their roleplay ability to progress things without murder. But spellcasters have great damaging spells, and they can change the game outside of combat. The fighter can use their martial ability to swing a greatsword, and the wizard can throw a stapler at your head with catapult and deal 3d8 damage. The fighter needs to use their charisma and convincing words to calm the guards. The wizard casts charm person, and they are the main examples, but let's keep going. The fighter needs to use a piece of equipment like a grappling hook or a rope, or perhaps find another creative solution to climb the wall. The wizard casts fly. It's dark in the dungeon. The human fighter needs to put down a shield to use their torch. The wizard uses dark vision, light, or dancing lights for free. The smart fighter needs to use a 10-foot pole, and the heroic fighter dives recklessly down the trapped corridor. The wizard casts find traps. The fighter needs to use a stick with some goo on the end to reach the keys behind the cage bars. The wizard casts Mage Hand. And is someone not giving you what you want? It's dark, and there could be enemies, and there may be traps? Well, just use Fireball! Do you see the point I'm making? Every problem that you can think of, from something in an adventure book like a pit or a puzzle to a problem that requires you to converse or negotiate, neither being a combat issue, mind you, and both problems are instantly solved by spells. The style of play where your adventure is overcoming great challenges. Spellcasters don't help overcome them, they just press the solve button. And here's the thing, while dungeons aren't like required, casters make the thing that accounts for half the game's name completely trivial. I mean, come on, find traps! And because of that, I have a new name for the game. Dragons, or fuck dragons, because when you gank and spank the dungeon, all that is left is the meaty challenge of dragons. Works both ways as a title, you see. Like, come with me on this one. Imagine a scene from The Mummy, Indiana Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean, or I don't know, like National Treasure, where the characters had find traps or any other spell that could just solve the problem, instead of doing something cool like, I don't know, replacing an idol with a bag of sand and spurring an unforgettable giant boulder escape scene. So, what is the solution? Well, I don't think there is one, at least not with D&D. You can't be expected to change 13 classes, with most of them being spellcasters. It's more about the encounters. They have to be suited to challenge the magic users, but that would be nearly impossible for non-magic users. So as I said before, guess your life sucks. You're either a pillow princess being chaperoned by the Chad wizard who gets to fly while you can hit twice per turn. So, what am I doing in my game? Well, it's hard to say like right now. Think back to D&D for a comparison. Wizards are generalists, aka the guys who have so many spells that they're basically just like a toolbox. Meanwhile, there's not really any specialists, aka doing one thing. Even the bard who is mainly support has charm magic, healing, damage, and more. As of now, I'm thinking that the idea of a specialist is the way. There are a bunch of martials in this game, more than the casters, and each one of them have a thing that they excel at, whether it's being tactical, high damage, hard to pin down, applies debuffs, etc. So, having casters being specialists as well changes things. Imagine a class like the Harbinger, a guy who can harvest the apocalypse to be a high damage caster, but they really need help when talking to shopkeepers. Or the Witch, someone who uses dark magic to bend the minds of their victims with spells and mind-warping charms and hexes, but they need help actually killing the monster. Instead of this frustrating scenario where you can't plan around the caster to make fun challenges and puzzles, you can actually plan to build encounters to Pokemon-style counter a player to let the others shine. In conclusion, casters are fun to play, but they can make the game feel like easy mode. They make equipment completely useless. They use spells in place of creativity, and the adventurous fantasy present in action-adventure fiction just can't happen when one of your friends is playing a humanoid win button. And I know that if you got this far, you may be foaming at the mouth with a chonky response as to why I'm wrong in the comments, and hey, I get it. You will have had times where the casters didn't break challenges, but I bet you can think of times when they did. So agree or not, I hope this made you think about the design of D&D, and about the feel of the fantasy present in your game. And by now, you may have guessed that this video is more about guidance and shedding light with a chill touch. You may put up resistance thinking I was making a vicious mockery of what you enjoy, or making a true strike in the dark, but I never wanted to lightning lure you in a singular way of thinking. And that's my final message. Acid splash! And if this video offended you, it wasn't the intention to offend you in any way. There's a big standing thing about the D&D community where they said, change martials so they're better and they are on par with the spellcasters, and then when they tried to do it, they went, no, we don't like that. So whether you try to change things, keep things the same, no one's gonna like anything that you do, so just go for it. Just whatever you want to do, whatever's fun for you, just go for it. Like the initiative video, if you make any changes or suggest that the current practice is bad or any other practice is good, then no one's going to agree. So just go for it. Whatever you want, it's fine. And at the end of the day, if you didn't like what I said in this video, it's fine because I'm outside of your punching range. I'm Ellis. Leave a like to help out the channel and check the description for my socials and products. Also, click the video on screen to take initiative and see 3 great alternatives to, well, initiative. I love you all, and I'll see you next Saturday.